Well, we're to the second last draw of the championship round before we get into playoffs. This is draw 16, and we have 8 sheets of ice going, 4 men's and 4 women's. And Bill Shearhart and Jerry Sundwell are back to bring you this game tonight. The game we're broadcasting tonight is Team Ontario men against British Columbia. Both these teams are at 4-4 at the present time, and it's a must-win situation, Bill.
It's going to be a good one. I think we've seen these teams play before, and they play very well. We'll find out if they want to mix it up, though, because we had one game with Ontario where in the middle of the game they decided to just go up and down the sheet for a while, and that's how we got our trivia contest started.
Yeah, that's right.
But the last ends were great, so here we go.
So Team Ontario has the hammer, throwing red rocks.
And BC has a spare playing, as you can tell by the difference in uniform. One of the BC boys is down, so from the spare pool. And
Gary Houghton is the spare's name. Gary Houghton won the 2010 Canadian Masters Championship with the team out of Guelph, Mike Dory. And on that team was the second on the Delaney team. So this is his, I think, 4th Canadian Masters. So Brian Henderson moved to Ottawa a few years ago and hooked up with Delaney.
And the Ottawa team is from the Russell Curling Club, just outside the National Capital Region.
So just to give you an update of what's going on sheet 1, we have Alberta versus Northern Ontario men. On sheet 2, we have Quebec versus Saskatchewan. On sheet 3, we have Newfoundland Labrador against Prince Edward Island. Then on the other side of the ice, we have the women playing Ontario versus New Brunswick, Manitoba versus Alberta, Prince Edward Island versus Saskatchewan, and on sheet 8, we have Northern Ontario versus British Columbia.
And the boys are starting out in conservative fashion, just getting used to the ice surface.
So we have a call by the BC skip to put a front guard in from second, Gary Houghton.
Oh, with that delivery, he should be playing for Manitoba.
Yeah, that's right.
So I used some flowers and bring it tomorrow.
And of course, we are coming from the friendly confines of the Guelph Curling Club in the Royal City here in the heart of Southern Ontario.
So this is Friday night curling club, and this is the championship round. So we have a good crowd here tonight.
I kind of thought most of them would want to stay home and watch the live stream. I hear that's pretty
good. It's pretty entertaining. I know that. So we have a rock biting the top 12 foot. BC's asking Gary to hit that in the nose and stay. Good rock, just rolled. Bob's not going to take any chances.
making sure they're yeah, yeah. Well, they were in the cooler. So, do you know how she fluffed her hair? Okay, so yeah, you're fine.
The picture says 1,000 words here. We'll watch the boys move up and down the sheet here with their own takeouts.
Some of them are, no, but some of them are.
The standings on the men's side, we have Northern Ontario and Saskatchewan at 7-1, Alberta at 6-2, Prince Edward Island is at 5-3, and then we have 4 teams: Quebec, BC, Newfoundland, Labrador, and Ontario, all at 4-4. So nobody is eliminated from the playoffs at this point in time in the men's side, with two draws to go.
With that BC rock not going into the house, we see Skip Delaney now using that as for a little bit of cover. He's going to play a come around. He wants to play to the side of the sheet. Pretty classic way to at least attempt to score 2. This is Rick Bachand, Bruce's longtime friend in third. Clockwise rotation. Want to keep it around the guard and in front of the tee line.
It's a really good shot. A little bit open. Actually, it's mostly open. But it was perfect weight.
This is Dale Hockley, long time really good curler on the lower mainland of supernatural British Columbia. Looks pretty good.
Yep, good rock. And a roll to the center.
Yeah, I want to get away from that corner guard.
Hang on.
Now Bruce has another option. He can play to that rock that slid into the back 12 foot, or he can try to go around the corner again. Let's see what he does.
Well, he's...
looks like he's going to try to freeze up to that rock in the back. So counterclockwise rotation from third Rick Bachand. Skip Delaney has sent the message that we are going to be aggressive when we have the opportunity. So they're not going to waste any ends. They're going to go for it whenever possible.
This one's hanging out a long ways. Weight a little off, line a little off. Now we have an opportunity for BC.
And now we come to the skip of British Columbia. Jerry and I, before the live streaming started, we talked about the big shoes that this man has to fill, because his name is, Jerry?
Ken Watson.
Ken Watson. First book I ever read about curling.
I have that book still. Found it in a garage sale. Obviously his mother or father was a curler, and
this Ken Watson had a little longer slide than the guy that wrote the book.
yeah, a lot longer slide. Broom out to the side, big lift. Now he had an opportunity to draw around that corner guard, but he was throwing a draw up at front. Just short of the rings.
Skip Delaney certainly has some rocks that he can use. He can come around either of those 2 rocks that are in the free guard zone, or he can try to come to that rock that's in the back 12 foot. And looks like he's going to come around the short side. He's going to give us a clockwise rotation and come around that rock that was just delivered by Ken Watson.
Well, we're going out a little further than we've seen them play. I don't know if they went out this far in practice or not, but we'll see what the speed is down there.
Oh, we've talked about this before. This is one of the downsides of determining last rock advantage in the first end with a clockwise and counterclockwise draw to the 4 foot. So many teams work so hard on perfecting those 2 shots, and it makes perfect sense. But then in the first end, Jerry, sometimes they have to play shots where no one has ever thrown a rock in the warm-up, and that's the downside.
Yeah, we got Dave sweeping to try to make this one curl.
It's not going to happen.
Well, it's 12 seconds between the hog line. Threw it out a little wide. As our famous TV commentator would have said, there's some tall pebble out there, yeah?
Right, yes, exactly. Whereas at the beginning of the game, it tends to be a little bit stickier, or a little bit slower on the outside. In the later ends, that reverses. And I've seen so many draws missed on the outside of the sheet later on, because now that's actually quicker because there's still pebble there. So I want to pay attention to that in ends 6, 7, and 8.
Now that was a 12-second tee to tee for a hog to hog shot, and that was backline weight. So,
and that's the way it should be at 12 seconds.
Yeah.
So we see BC with an opportunity to put a little pressure on the boys from the nation's capital. Mr. Watson is playing the split and to Y3.
So now Mr. Delaney from Ontario is going to be feeling a little pressure. I know those are all just biters down there, but still a draw against 3 in the first end. And BC, Watson has achieved his objective. He's forced Delaney to 1 in the first end, and without a good execution, we could have a steal.
Let the force be with you.
Now he just threw a 12-second draw down there. He's moved to a different spot.
Well, I don't think it's going to be any slower than that. It should probably.
If he throws that again, it'll break the hack. So, because this is the line that they've been throwing draw to the button on.
And of course, we're timing between the hog lines.
Yes.
Hog to hog. Sometimes you can tell by the body language of the brushers if it's
They're
close.
watching it.
Looks pretty good. What'd you get, Jer?
I had 13.
And my guess would have been a 13 and a half.
Yeah, it
would
probably
have been
was. I
pretty
probably clicked it a little early because the sweeper stepped in the way. So it was probably closer to 13 and a half.
You're going to stick with that story?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's a score of 1 for Ontario on the first end.
This is the Ontario lead, Dave Stanley. Now, if pattern holds, usually Bruce would want to come into the house. He doesn't want to mess around with rocks out front, but we'll see if that strategy holds in tonight's game. Well, he might have wanted it in the house, but he's got a center line guard, so Ken Watson will use that and come around and hopefully top 4 foot. So it doesn't look like they're going to play up and down the sheet. Looks like they're willing to mix it up, Jerry.
That's good. That makes a more exciting game for the fans.
So BC's coming around on the counterclockwise side. Perfect spot, top 4 foot. And Ontario can see about half that rock, again on the counterclockwise side. So it looks like they'll play the prerequisite freeze. But Bruce has got them playing into the center of the sheet, into the high rent district, as I call it, where there's not a lot of room for rocks. And Ken Watson from BC with last rock wants to play to the side of the sheet. A little bit of a tap here.
Not a bad shot. He wants to draw down here. Ideally, he'd like a little bit of an overcurl in there, set the good angle up for himself.
And when you're drawing around rocks, you always want to get to the inside of the nose, and that's what Jerry means about angles. If you're on the inside of the nose, it's very difficult to get you out of the house. When you're on the outside of the nose, much easier to do that. Not a lot of room here. Oh, this looks very good.
No camera up there, it's broken.
Pretty good shot. So we see BC lying 1 just on the top side of the button.
Brian wants to come down here, just tap that yellow one back onto the red one, jiggle them around a little bit.
Very soon, one of the skips will decide he doesn't like the angles and wants to rearrange the furniture, and it looks like
that's happened right now.
That's right.
The angles are not good for red. Gary's throwing a heater down here. Missing the front one.
But leaving the dangerous rock.
Yes. So Bob just wants quiet weight here. He's just going to tap and roll onto his own rock. I'll have 2 in front of the 4 foot if Brian Henderson can accomplish this. I know I am. I worked with a Bob Delaney.
What's that?
I worked with a Bob Delaney. He's an MPP.
Oh, it's not curling now.
Made the hit, but a big roll over to the side. So now Skip Watson is asking Gary Houghton just come down, tap that one back 4 foot.
And I would think he wants a little bit of a roll out to the side.
Yeah.
Wants to get those rocks away from that rock that he's got in the 4 foot. Doesn't want to set up a double, some sort of combination for Bruce Delaney.
Now this one's over curling. He's not going to get a roll to the side. In fact, it's just a draw. Pretty good stone. You can see that one rock isn't going out. Bruce Delaney is going up and ripping off that front guard.
Interesting. 2 shots ago, Skip Watson didn't like that rock there.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce Delaney doesn't like the rock there. It's going to be pretty close to a run back, Jerry.
Yeah.
Well, that rearranges the furniture.
That's rearranges in BC's favor.
It does.
We've got the rocks spread out now, and they've still got a rock up front as a guard. So he can come in around that corner guard, but he leaves that one in the 4 foot wide open to roll back.
And you can see the wheels turning. He does not want to do that. That's right. I kind of thought he might want to protect that.
Yeah, I think that's the call.
You don't often guard rocks when you've got last rock advantage, but sometimes you have to, and I think this is one of those times.
Now, I've been watching this sheet all week, and we noticed that we had 4.5 feet of curl earlier in the week, and we've lost a little bit of our curl. That's normal as the week goes along.
That's what he called for. And, of course, the BC boys are from my favorite place to say in BC.
Where is that?
Chilliwack.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Love saying Chilliwack.
So Bruce Delaney is asking his third to run that yellow rock back. Hopefully to take it out.
Yeah, that's the problem. If you're not going to make the run back, you want to make sure your shooter gets out of dodge. And that's not what happened. He just missed the back rock, and now that red Ontario rock is going to help Ken Watson. So the BC boys in the driver's seat for now anyway, Jerry.
Yep, they're playing a call and draw to the top 12 foot. Just a hint around that top red one.
Set up the Christmas tree.
Yep. Well, this rock's over curling. So
ooh, bad miss.
yeah, they might have wanted to not sweep that one, just let it stop on its own. Get a little less roll, leave those 2 rocks covered.
Skip Delaney's going to want a little bit of a check roll towards the center line, I'm sure.
Well, he could roll the other way behind his corner red as well.
The second end of this championship pool game with Ontario up by 1. And, of course, BC having last rock. Quite wait, Jerry.
Yeah, he would really like to have that hit and roll in like you called. But it's hanging out a long ways. It's a good shot, not shot rock. But Ken Watson has to deal with it.
And he sure cut down the scoring area, so that was not the shot we thought he might play, but it's a very good shot. Got to watch those guys from Ottawa, Jerry.
Yeah.
Rick and Bruce have been playing together for an awfully long time. They've got all sorts of awards and championships, so there's a tremendous experience.
So what do you think he called? Little tap on that yellow one of his?
Well, there's not a lot of ice here.
I'm just not sure with the ice he's chosen.
And with Dale standing at the top 12 foot, I'll tell you now, Jerry, I don't know.
Quiet weight, a little wide. I don't think that was his objective.
I'm not sure what the objective was, I'll be very honest. BC is still shot. So now we have an opportunity for Bruce Delaney from the Russell Curling Club to move that yellow rock and lie two. And he's already up one on the scoreboard.
So it looks like he's going to play just a quiet tap back, just a hair more weight than he had last time. He can hit that red one right on the nose, just move it back a little bit. He has an opportunity to score a couple of points here.
The line looks pretty good. Now, did they select the right ice?
I don't think he shot rock. Didn't throw enough weight.
Does he think the rocks will break or something? Or?
He could have had... wow.
I don't have an explanation. I'm sorry.
Wow. He could have thrown board weight on that one.
Almost anything but that.
That's one of those ones where you can't be light.
Would that be execution tolerance?
That's the execution tolerance.
I think it might be. So now we see skip Ken Watson, the BC Ken Watson, with an opportunity to draw for two. He's going to need, well, almost a piece of the button.
I don't know. Based on the shot we saw last night, this one's an easy shot. He's got like feet to draw to, not a quarter of an inch.
Like Mr. Gushu, you mean?
Like Mr. Gushu, yeah.
Wasn't that a great draw?
Boys are sweeping it. Line looks good.
He's going to be awfully close to that guard. I think
they
he's right.
crashed.
The weight looked interesting.
So we have steal of one, or a score of one for BC. After two ends of play, we have a tie game. Ontario has hammer. Sometimes it's the execution that makes you go wow and score the games. Other times it's the misses that make you go wow.
And we said this earlier in in the day today. It's not the shot you make, it's the shot you miss, and how you deal with those. And Skip Delaney was not very happy with himself. He had a little bit of a talk with himself back here by the glass.
So this is game 9 this week for these boys. So it's and they are 60+ years old, so they could be feeling a little bit of the fatigue setting in. So this is where you have to suck it up and focus more.
And of course, these are 8-end games. At seniors and at masters, it's 8 ends, and as we have said again many times, there's very little wiggle room. You've got to make things happen, and you've got to make things happen relatively quickly. Ontario decides to ignore that rock that's just biting the 8-foot, and I think they're going to try to put up their own corner guard, or what are they doing here? Did that rock change handles?
I don't think so. I
thought they were going the other way.
A little confused by the strategy here.
No, I'm easily confused.
So we peeled that one off, and Dave Stanley's in the hack. And Bruce Delaney is calling for the corner guard. Oop. He didn't like that call. Going for the corner guard. And of course, Ken Watson from BC does not want to let the Ontario team play to the side of the sheet. Thus, he removed that corner guard. And Bruce says, we're going to put it right back. And knowing Gary Houghton from our local curling club, he loves to throw those peels. That's his specialty. So Brian Henderson's throwing this corner guard. Bruce Delaney is coming out to help sweep. It's probably just cold.
Oh, I always love to see a skip brush. That's great. You know how you choose the skip of the team? It's the guy that can't brush.
I thought it was the guy that owned the 4-foot.
Oh, that's the theory.
Oh, okay.
So Ron gets to play his favorite shot once again.
Got excited in that one. Threw too much weight on it. Pushed it out. Team Ontario has an advantage.
No surprise that Bruce Delaney wants Brian Henderson to go around that on the clockwise rotation.
Boys are just cleaning it. Line looks good. So it's partially buried, but it's very deep behind the tee line. Ken Watson is actually asking for a hack weight takeout. And his third, Hockley.
He doesn't have to come too close to that corner guard. He's got room to move around. And
yeah, he's got really nice weight there.
The rock will curl.
Cleaning it. think we've seen this a couple times. It curls nice and then it gets down past the hog line and just straightens out.
It did. It did. So third, Rick Bachand will try to replace it and keep it in front of the tee line this time if possible. Much more valuable if it's in front of the tee line.
He's waving for tighter ice.
And on the screen, you can see that there is room. You could go around on the counterclockwise side, on the short side. You can make that shot, and it can be even better because you'll only leave the outside showing.
So he changed the shot completely. Rick didn't like that shot, so he called a hit and roll over the corner, and he hit it head on.
Well, I guess he wasn't calling for less ice. He was changing the
shot totally.
They should tell us that, yeah. Jerry.
Well, it's in my opinion, not a good call. I really liked to come around that corner guard from the outside rather than the inside. It'll finish nicer. It's on good ice, and it's a great opportunity to score. He's got hammer. So they're playing like what I like to call is scared curling. Curl to lose close. He set up that corner guard for something, didn't he?
That's what I thought. And that could come back to bite him. You might see when we get into the skips rocks that BC might be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Well, BC certainly can't ignore that rock. They've got to remove that. We saw that earlier today where a team put up a corner guard and ignored it, and I think we agree that it kind of cost them the game. It was in a very critical end, and if you're going to put up a corner guard, then use it as much and as early as you possibly can. Because if you don't, you've wasted a shot. And in most cases for recreational curlers, it's not good enough to hope that you roll behind it later on. That's not going to happen very often.
Well, and they 2 practice shots around that corner guard as well. So, and then they just waved it off. So.
On the beak. Okay, now Bruce has got it 2 shots to 1 here. And he certainly has some green opportunities, some opportunities to promote a scoring chance. But it looks like he's going to remove that. Now it might make some sense, of course, because it is an odd end.
An odd end. It's early in the game.
Yeah, and if this was the next end, the fourth end of the game, he might have played very differently.
He's not setting it up to his liking, so he's says, "All right, I'll blank this end, and we'll see what happens." Almost a good rock. Almost rolled behind. But as you can see, the rock's wide open, and Ken Watson will play normal hit on the shot. I think he has an opportunity to roll behind that corner.
He'd have to come awfully close to that guard to do it, although there is space. So there is space for the rock to curl once he negotiates that guard. Well, it depends on the weight he decides to use.
Yeah, he's throwing just control weight. Boys are sweeping it hard. They got it by. Let it go now. See what happens. No, it just straightens out at the end. It doesn't finish. It was a good throw, good hit.
And of course, Skip Delaney will want to blank this end. Retain last rock advantage, playing 4. Well, I have good news and bad news for Skip Delaney. The good news is you removed the opposition rock. The bad news is you stayed in the house.
And he did use that corner guard.
And he did.
It was his last rock. So. So at the end of 3 ends, it's Ontario 2, BC 1, playing the 4th end. BC has last rock.
I think we're going to see BC let the dogs out here. I think they're going to really push hard to score 2 on this even end, the 4th.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. What do I know? Trivia time, Jer. And this draw's trivia question is?
Well, it's a pretty simple question if you're of the right age. And I have to ask this question because we've talked about him several times. The skip of the team is Ken Watson. What province was Ken Watson from? And what decade did he curl in the Briar?
Are you insinuating that I would have seen him win the Briar?
I don't think so.
Trying to say? I used to like you, you know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, there you go. That's a trivia question for this draw. The original Ken Watson, the guy that wrote the book, Ken Watson on Curling. From what province? And when did he win the Briar?
That's just a decade. Like
oh,
not
just
even a year.
The decade. All right, then. I know the answer to the first part of your question, but I don't not decade. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I just want everybody to know that Jerry's Googling just to make sure he knows the answer.
Double checking.
Research. So we see both skips being very careful about who's in that control zone, that area in front of the house. Very valuable real estate early in the end. And most ends unfold that way. There's a fight for that control zone, and then in the second part of the end, the fight then moves back a little bit to the forefoot. And that's the reason why we're seeing these takeouts. You want to control that control zone early in the end. This is punch and counter punch.
Yeah, we're just building up clock time right now. So.
And of course, the clock time to which Jerry refers is the thinking time for each team. How many minutes for each team, Jerry?
30 minutes for each team, 2 timeouts, each 90 seconds each. And that is thinking time. Thinking time is from the time the skip calls the shot until the person in the hack reaches the near tee line.
So the course of the rock is not part of the time for either team. And when you deliver a rock, when the leading edge reaches the near tee line, that makes it an official shot. Now, sooner or later, one of these skips is going to see that rock in front of the house in the free guard zone as a friendly rock, one that can be used. But certainly Ken Watson gave it some thought.
He was contemplating.
He was thinking about it.
And he was going to do our favorite. He was going to come around the outside. And now we have no rocks in play. Bruce Delaney has asked for a rock to be delivered top of the forefoot. So while not much is going on here, I'll do some updates for you. Over in Sheet A, we have Northern Ontario playing Newfoundland Labrador. Is that correct? No, Northern Ontario is playing British Columbia. And British Columbia is up 3-1 after 3 ends of play. On ice 7, we have Prince Edward Island playing Saskatchewan. Prince Edward Island is up 3-1 on Saskatchewan. On ice 1, we have Alberta, who is sitting at 6-2, playing Northern Ontario, who is sitting at 7-1, and Alberta is up 5-0 after 3 ends in that game. Over in Sheet 2, we have Quebec playing Saskatchewan, another tight game. It's a 2-1 game for Quebec at the end of 3 ends. On Sheet 5, we have Ontario playing New Brunswick. Ontario is up 2-1 at the end of 3 ends. And over on Sheet 6, we have Manitoba playing Alberta. And Alberta is up 4-0 at the end of 3 ends on Manitoba.
And back to our game, we can see that the takeout parade continues. Ontario up by 1, playing the 4th end.
So we can't say it's an upset on sheet 1 with Alberta and Northern Ontario, but it is a surprise.
It is surprising. And of course, the Northern Ontario team skipped by Mr. Al Hackner, with Father Harnden at third. Ryan and EJ's dad. From the Brad Jacobs team, of course.
And the second on that team is Frank Morissette, who has been a long-time curler with Eric Harnden.
Out of Calgary, actually, when I knew him. If you like takeouts, you came to the right place.
Now, we talked about this on another draw. We have a skip for the New Brunswick team. She is 83 years old, out here curling in the championship round.
And she has a very well-known daughter, Heidi Hanlon,
who has been a champion many times over in their province and gone on to the World Championship.
And World Senior Champion, yes. Had the honor of taking them to the World Seniors in Copenhagen. Wonderful team to work with. The original Ken Watson, I think, curled in with spats. If I remember the photographs in his book, yep, spats. And the fedora.
The big corn broom, basically through from the hack. Broom out to the side.
The skips aren't even bothering to come down to the house. They're just staying down there. Fetch her down.
I'd like to tell you something exciting that's going on, but nothing exciting is going on. Last shot of the end. What's happening? Might be throwing it through. So at the end of the fourth end, this game is all tied up for 2-2. No, it isn't. It should be.
It should be.
Should be something. Ontario is ahead 2-1. BC has hammer, and we're looking for good things in the fifth end. Right now we have got the fourth end break.
Or as Guy Hemmings calls it, the fourth end picnic.
Can you say when's listening? I can do that. Request? Request?
Is there another microphone that's picking up all
Oh, I went and turned off the mic, but no, there isn't.
Where's all that coming?
I don't know. I went around looking for it at the end of it, but we're just picking it up all through our headsets, I guess. But it seems like it's coming from somewhere else.
Almost like from the kitchen area.
Yeah.
Todd Bailey's in disguise. See, we're not talking, and you know that sound is moving this, and you and I aren't talking.
So we're getting ready to start our fifth end of play. And Dave Stanley's in the hack, and
you've probably noticed that we have not used the traditional terms in-turn, out-turn, and this is one of the reasons why. We have a left-hander here playing lead stones for Team Ontario, and that's why we use the terms clockwise and counterclockwise, because it doesn't matter if you are right or left-handed. So it's the instructor coming out in us, I suppose. And Skip Delaney's playing it again pretty close to the vest, asking the southpaw, Dave Stanley, to put it in the top of the forefoot, which he has done. Did I say Dave was the southpaw? We have a southpaw here at lead position for BC.
And BC's got a hit and roll to the corner.
My apologies to Dave Stanley. For a moment, he was ambidextrous.
Well, he was, yeah.
But the left-hander is the lead for British Columbia. There is a left-handers world championship every year.
There is. Oakville, Ontario.
Right, Oakville. That's right. And I actually know curlers who are right-handed who have gone into that event and curled with their left hand just for the fun of it.
And they're not talking about the fun of curling. They're talking about the fun of the party.
Yes,
it is a wonderful party.
What does fun have to do with it? We could have a carbon copy of Ed number 4.
Well, I'm looking to do updates on the other sheets because nothing's happening on ours. But everybody is pretty much on a fourth end break right now. The exciting thing that's going on right now is on sheet 1, Alberta is up 5-0 on Northern Ontario. And Al Hackner's going down the sheet and has to make a draw against 4. Now he only needs a full 8 foot, but it is a draw against 4.
Those boys from Red Deer came to play.
They did.
For those of you who have been following along throughout the week, the semifinals are tomorrow, and those games will be live streamed. But the gold medal games on Sunday will be on Rogers Local Television. How do we do over there in sheet 1, Jer?
They swept it all away. He's got a bite in the 8 foot. And I don't know whether he got shot rock or second shot. So that broadcast that Bill talked about, that will be on Rogers TV, local community channel, broadcasting in Southern Ontario. However, it will be also streamed live on facebook.com/Rogers TV Guelph. So you can go onto your website and stream that game from any point in Canada. We will have the link to that on our 2017 curling high-grade Masters Curling Championship website, so you can also go to there and find the link to see that game from anywhere in the world.
Now, we are up against the last round of that golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia. But if you don't care about golf, listen to our scintillating broadcast. Facebook.com/Rogers TV Guelph is where you'll get it.
Now we have Rick Bachand in the hack, and he asked me to send a message out to Glenn. If you're listening, Rick says hello. In this tight game, Ontario leading 2-1.
Is she the president of the Rick Bachand fan club? Or is she the fan club?
He. Glenn.
Oh,
Glenn.
Glenn. Oh, I think you said Gwen.
Glenn.
Oh, sorry, Glenn. My apologies. We're just having fun.
So BC tried to freeze in the rock at the back 12-foot. Rick Bachand picked it off, and I believe he rolled out of the rings.
He did.
So now Ken Watson has asked for a freeze down on top of this one again, trying to generate some offense.
This is third Dale Hockley. As mentioned earlier, Dale's been around the competitive curling scene in the lower mainland of British Columbia for quite some time. Very well-known curler. Fine gentleman.
The line's excellent on this shot. It's coming into the rings. Just a little light. So Bruce Delaney will pick it off. He'd like to stay in the rings this time. And Rick Bachand has picked that rock out, but rolled out of the rings, and gives another opportunity for Hockley. He knows the line, just a little bit more weight, freezing that back one, and perhaps force a miss from Team Ontario. Not freezing this time. So we have a wide open house. Bruce Delaney is called for a draw to the top 4 foot. So while this is going on, Northern Ontario playing British Columbia over in sheet 8. British Columbia is up on Northern Ontario 3-2 after 4 ends of play. On sheet 6, Manitoba is playing Alberta. Alberta is up 4-2 after 4 ends of play over Manitoba. In ice 5, Ontario is playing New Brunswick, and that game is tied at 3 points apiece. Ontario have a hammer in 5th end. In sheet 3, Newfoundland Labrador is playing against Prince Edward Island. And Newfoundland Labrador just got 4 points in the 4th end to tie that game up at 4 points apiece. at our game over in Sheet 1 between Alberta and Northern Ontario. Still don't know who scored on the fourth end. However, there are, is it a gaggle of rocks or a, there's a whole,
it's a quarry of rocks.
a quarry of rocks. There's a quarry of rocks in play down there. They're playing curling over here. We're playing knockout over here on Sheet 4.
We're playing shuffleboard here.
Shuffleboard, yeah. Very little strategy involved in this, just running the rocks up and down the ice.
Maybe these guys want to finish before 9 o'clock so they can see the 1-2 game in the World Championship. The Men's World Championship, of course, being in Edmonton, Team Canada being the Gushu team, winners of the Brier in their hometown of St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador. And they are putting on quite a show.
And they're playing Sweden tonight in the 1-2 game. Sweden finished the round robin with 2 losses, whereas Canada went through undefeated.
And the boys from Sweden have a bit of a heavy heart tonight. There was a terrorist attack in Stockholm, I understand, today.
So we have a biter at the back 12 foot for BC. And Bruce Delaney is playing a hit on this shot.
And he's playing it inside out. And I think he may be doing that because of that red rock that's on the left side of the path in. So a clockwise rotation might have to come closer to that red rock. So he's...
And there's no room out there. If you set it a little bit out, it won't come back. So
I don't think we've seen too many inside-out takeouts in this spot.
Not in this spot, no, for sure.
They've gone with one brusher. It's pretty good. Just the way he visualized it.
So Ken Watson from BC will try to eliminate this rock. And he rolled it out of play. So that's a blank end. So after 5 ends of play, we still have Ontario up 2-1, playing the 6th end. British Columbia has last rock.
This is turning out to be one of those bicycle races in the velodrome where they're jockeying for position, and sooner or later one of them is going to sprint to the finish. It'll be interesting to see which team does that. Well, there's a center line guard. It's not in the house, and so we could have a little bit more offense. And there we go.
There we go.
There's the sprint to the finish. Ken Watson going to play a corner guard, so game on. I just think it's cool. It's Skip Ken Watson.
Yeah.
Didn't think I'd ever get a chance to say that.
To watch Ken Watson curl.
And now we're going to see a cat and mouse game unfold here, with the BC team wanting to play to the side of the sheet as much as possible. The Ontario skip, Bruce Delaney, wants to play to the center of the sheet, and thus the call to the top 4 foot.
So on our trivia question about Ken Watson.
Not this Ken Watson.
Nope. The
guy with the spats and the fedora.
the last year he won the Brier, I was born. I think you might have.
1740.
You might have been too. Just a little hint. Now
Oh.
they have no idea how old I am. But I'll just say I played in my first Masters 10 years ago. So
Let's see. Carry the one.
excellent shot by Dave Stanley. Top of the 4 foot, around that center guard. Now Ken Watson's asking his lead to come down on top of it. Sweepers are working hard. Line looks really, really good.
This is very reminiscent of end number 2.
It is. It's a very good shot. Well, let's see if they can take advantage of it. Bruce Delaney's asking for a guard. Just short of the rings. Or a tight freeze. He's good with either.
This is all about rock placement, rock position. And again, as we saw in the second end, sooner or later one of the skips will realize that the angles or the rocks are not positioned properly and redecorate. Rearrange the furniture.
So I can just update you. Northern Ontario did score 1 on the 4th end, so it's a score of 5-1. Alberta over Northern Ontario after 4 ends play. Be an interesting game on sheet 5. In the women's game, Ontario is at 6-1 in the round robin. They're playing New Brunswick, who is 2-5. The game is tied up, and currently the skip Dale Curtis is throwing her first rock against 2, possibly 3 counters.
So now we see Skip Ken Watson deciding that he does not like the placement of the rocks and is going to start to move the furniture around a little bit. Well, he changed the color of the sofa.
He moved it around a little bit. It's a little better position now for
The skips looks like they're having a good time out there. They're chatting back and forth, lots of smiles.
I'm sure they're saying good shot.
I'm sure they are. I think one of them's a really good actor. Well, Skip Delaney's going to want to complicate this as much as he possibly can. He's leading, and he has shot rock.
So we've got the guard in front. Ken Watson is asking his second, Gary Houghton, to run this one back and hopefully take off that back one. He's throwing it hard. Not curling much.
I think he's going to... Ooh!
No. Looked like he threw a little tight when he let it go. Just
Boy, I felt the wind back here. Woo!
Gary loves to throw him hard.
I was jumping under the table for cover.
Now that rock didn't turn out in a good position for Ken Watson. It's, as we call it, Christmas tree.
I'm going to talk about bad angles.
So now Bruce Delaney has asked his third, Bachand, to draw around all those guards out front.
Glenn's friend.
Glenn's friend, yeah. Glenn, if you're listening, we're looking at Rick Bachand try to throw a guard around the center.
If it's around, it's not going to be around by much. And it's not around. But it tends to close off that clockwise side.
Yeah.
Or at least shut it down somewhat. Right now, Skip Watson does not have a path to the forefoot. And that is a big concern. I think those Green Rider fans are a little bit riled up over here.
Yeah, they're a little rowdy over there.
Settle those folks down.
So it looks like he's playing a lightweight, trying to come around that yellow one, move the red one at the back, but it's really tight to the guard. Well, he's made a bit of a hole and perhaps lined up some shots there that Ken Watson can use a little later on. Bruce has to make a decision, has to do something, has to protect his red rock in there. We have two yellow rocks in the rings, second and third shot.
I think we just saw back-to-back great shots over there on sheet 2,
We did.
Jerry.
The Quebec crowd is now standing, giving
La
full
Belle
applause.
Province.
And we Rick Bachand now trying to duplicate his last shot, throw a guard there, down.
Well, it's in the opening, that's for sure. It depends where it's going to stop. Now, it would be tough to make that run back double because you'd have to just get on the inside of the nose and you'd have to come awfully close to that yellow rock that's just off the center line in order to do it. And you can't make it the other way because you're going to come off the yellow rock that's just on the top 8 foot. So this is interesting. I wish I had a telestrator.
Yeah,
here.
there's a opportunity with the other turn to hit that rock just off the center line and do a double raise. That rock's half open and they're lined up. Might be an easier shot.
I don't know what Team B wants to do. They want to get both those red rocks going. And that's the trick, is to try to make the double. And there's a good view. There's the overhead. But what you don't see is a yellow rock just off the center line.
You can't see it. Got bodies in our way here.
There we go.
There you can see it now.
So you can see how close a yellow shooter would have to come to that yellow rock that's just to the left of the center line. That's the situation to which we are referring. But let's sit back and watch what happens. Well, he's not narrow, Jerry. Yeah, and you see he had to get to the other side of center of that rock. Yeah, that's what I thought would happen. But it'll cut him down. That's the good news. So Skip Delaney will try to shut that off.
And he changed the alignment on that other shot so that triple raised tap isn't there anymore.
And the tolerance here would be light.
Yeah.
Let's not set that red double up again.
Now we, over in sheet 1, we had Northern Ontario losing to Alberta. And now the teams have disappeared. So something must have happened in the fifth end.
I think they'll reappear over by the refreshment stand.
Yeah, I think that's true.
They'll all order Diet Cokes.
This is Alberta, Northern Ontario.
Scratch the Diet Cokes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Bob just wants to put a guard anywhere out front here.
Or his brother Bruce.
His mother wanted to name him Bob. Sorry, Bruce. I've known you for a long, long time. It's been a long week. It was a very good shot.
It is. Miserable angles if you're from BC.
Well, he doesn't have a draw, doesn't have much of a raise. But that triple raise is all he's got, eh?
I think so, Jerry.
The drag effect, he might be able to drag it back on that red rock.
And of course, the drag effect is what happens when curling stones are really, really close together. They don't have to be frozen. But when you hit the front rock, it can change the angle of the back rock. And in some cases, it can be changed quite dramatically. Depends how much room is available. So it's not being right over top of the rocks. It's hard for us to see if that's going to be a possibility. Well, certainly Ken Watson has something in mind. So again, as we say, let's just sit back and watch it unfold.
Well, he has no other option at this point in time that I can see, so. He's playing a raise yellow onto red, onto yellow, onto yellow, onto red.
Routine shot.
So he's got to get 4 rocks moving.
Practice this all the time. It is on its way.
And he's throwing it hard. Go up.
All right, who put these rocks here? I think Dale, in moving back for a better look at the, would touch some rocks. Okay, we need an umpire here. It's like this. Cross your arms when you want a technical timeout.
Just a timeout. Timeout.
This is where the umpire is going to earn his money.
It's pretty easy. It's one red. Would have been one red. It's one red. Now the umpire is out here, and with the burned rock situation, there is, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 choices they can make. They can put the rocks back to the same position they were before the rock was burned. They can leave the rocks where they are after the rock has been finished, or they can put the rocks where they thought they should go.
In Canadian rules, that is correct, but on WCF rules, you just have 2 options. But since we're not playing under WCF rules, and it is the non-offending team that makes this decision, the offending team in this case, and they did it unintentionally, of course,
Yeah.
but when you are the offending team, you have just one role to play, and that is to indicate what you've done. And then it is up to the non-offending team to select one of the options. And if you're the offending team, you can't get your nose out of joint on the option they select because you caused the problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They moved a rock back that wasn't kicked. So,
Well, when both teams appear to be happy, then the umpire's done his job.
that's, as you said, it's the non-offending team that has the choice.
And that's why it's really important, if you are the third or the skip, or if you're in Atlantic Canada, the mate, that you're not off getting a drink of water when something like that happens, because the official's going to come to you and ask what you want to do, what you saw. And you can't say, well, I was in the washroom. That is what is known as an officials or a technical timeout, and you indicate that by crossing your forearms. It's not a charged timeout to either team, obviously. But I think in this case, Ontario has tagged on a team timeout, it might appear. With Team BC attempting a takeout there, I'm wondering if Skip Watson is already thinking blank and coming home with last rock down too. Might be a little bit early for that type of decision to be made, but we'll see what happens. You know, a good shot here might be for Team BC, even though that rock's in the top 8 foot, is to draw around it to the back of the house. That is a very viable option. Now, he's not doing that, but it's certainly a consideration. It depends if he wants to try to generate scoring points in this end or the next end.
Well, I have to agree with you. It looks like he's
Oh, yeah.
going for a blank here and try to generate 2 points in the last end.
Now we do have a rock touching the 12 foot, of course, as you can see. Skip Delaney's going to deal with that rock. And hopefully third Rick Bachand will hit and roll into the house. Team Ontario would like nothing better than to force a 1 from BC, and that means Ontario would come home 1 up with last rock, and that's always a very desirable situation.
A good shot by Rick Bachand.
And of course, Team BC could freeze to that, which he has indicated. So now we're back on offense again. now it doesn't look like he doesn't want to blank.
He's trying to freeze in this back one.
He's trying to trick us, Jerry, and it's working.
So we had lots of rocks in play last end, and BC was just a little bit light in their last rock to take it, so it ended up a steal of 1 for Ontario. Boys are sweeping this. They'd like to make a tight freeze in that back rock. But it's over curling a little bit. The wave was great.
Yeah, you just got to get in front of it in some fashion. You don't have to necessarily freeze. Just get in front, which they've done. It's not square in front, but it's certainly a concern for Team Ontario. They don't want to jam. Set up a 2. Now we have an interesting situation developing because now there's 2 rocks to which Team BC can draw and attempt to freeze. Would have been great if Rick Bachand could have scattered all those rocks.
Yeah, they would have been good.
Yeah, we'll see what Skip Ken Watson calls.
And Team Ontario have got them in a forced position now.
BC third, Dale Hockley.
This rock looks a little bit heavy.
I think that pretty much takes care of the blank.
Yep. Delaney's called for a draw, top 4 foot.
Rock placement important here. They want to put a rock in some place where Ontario has to deal with it. But you can't be light, because if it's light, you know that Team BC is going to go around it. So pretty exacting shot here.
So he's indicated, Rick Bachand has indicated he wants this draw, biting the top 4 foot on the center line.
And Ontario playing in number 7, up by 2. BC having last rock.
So in sheet 2, we have Saskatchewan and Quebec playing the 8th end of play. The score is all tied up 4-4, with Saskatchewan having last rock. The rock's underway. Sweepers are watching it. So the weight was perfect. They were looking for a little more curl than that.
And now we have that 2-1 situation where Team BC has 2 rocks left with only 1 for Ontario. I can make a case that possibly you might want to draw around that.
Well, they're in a difficult situation. They're 2 down coming home, and
I mean, you're not going to blank anyway.
no.
And let's force Bruce Delaney to try to make the run back takeout. That is not the shot that Ken Watson has called.
What he's asked for is hit on that one and rolled towards the center line, sit in front of the Ontario Rock at the back 8 foot.
Hoping for a jam somewhere along the line on Skip Delaney's last shot of end number 7. The problem for BC is they're down 2. You know, if they were only down 1, it makes a huge difference. Now there's the tap hit. And BC does have shot rock, so certainly Ontario's going to have to deal with it. And make sure that they don't jam on one of those red Ontario rocks at the back.
So Skip Bruce Delaney's coming down. He'll throw a quiet weight hit. Wants to cross that rock slightly and roll to the center line.
Gee, you said he'll throw up and then paused, and I thought, oh, he's not that sick, is he?
He's not throwing lightweight here. He's got tight ice, and I'm not even sure what turn he's throwing.
Well, it looks like it's a clockwise rotation. Unless we've got negative ice here, and I don't think that's the case.
No, good shot.
Yep. And there's the force for sure.
So Ontario's line 3. 1 rock to come. Over in sheet 5, Ontario women stole a point in 6 and another point in 7. They're 3 up coming home against New Brunswick. That should clinch them a playoff spot. They would be 6-7-1 with 1 game to go.
Last shot of end number 7 to be delivered by Skip Ken Watson from Richmond, Chilliwack, BC.
And looks like he's called a hit.
Okay, then. Better make this shot.
Line looks good.
If I'm Dale Hockley right now, I'm saying 1 yellow. We could have another measurement here.
Nope.
It's rock from play that's in the free guard zone. You can move it around, which is what they want to do, move it close to the sideline. The Weagle shot, as it's come to be known. But again, they're playing into the rock. And it's going to work out okay, I think, for them. Yeah, very nicely done.
Great shot.
That is the quintessential tick. And I think the skip of or the lead of Ontario is going to get to play it again. I think when you're playing the tick, it's a little bit better to play it across the face. Take some of the steam out of the shooter. Okay, Mr. Stanley, you're on again. A reprise.
So we didn't get anybody responding to our trivia question. Good effort.
Okay, what province did Mr. Watson represent? I'm going to guess PEI.
Nah.
Not PEI.
Nah.
Okay.
No.
Yukon?
Weren't even playing in the Brier.
Not the Yukon. Okay. Is it a province that's won the most Briers?
It would be.
Oh, Newfoundland, Labrador?
Only two.
Only 2. But big ones.
No, the home of the Buffalo.
Manitoba.
And Ken Watson won 3 Briers over 2 decades, 1939, 1942, and 1949. So we have 3 Yellow Rocks in play, 1 center guard, 1 top 12-foot, all belonging to British Columbia. Delaney, who has last rock, will be attempting to remove these rocks. He's got tight ice. He's happy to take the one out in the house. Probably would prefer the long guard to be gone instead.
Either one. You just say to yourself, narrow's okay. Get one of them. And as you suggested, that's probably the better of the 2.
Yeah. So on sheet 3, we have a tie game. 6-6 coming home between Newfoundland, Labrador, and Prince Edward Island. And Newfoundland, Labrador has last rock.
But that PI team always has hope.
They do.
Bill Hope.
They're calling the time out now. So we have another center guard in our sheet.
Yep, center guard. There will be a parade of center guards the next few shots. Center guards and peels, attempted peels anyway.
Yeah, but my house is for sale right now. Yeah, it is. Mitchell. If it sells.
So we have a few final games now. We have a final game in sheet 8. British Columbia defeating Northern Ontario 8-2. Final game on sheet 7. Prince Edward Island defeating Saskatchewan 8-1. We have a final game in sheet 5. Ontario defeating New Brunswick.
Those are all women's games, I think.
Those are all women's games, yes.
So BC's got rocks on the center line. This game's going to be won in the 4-foot anyway, so that rock, that yellow rock that's just off to the left of the center line, that's a guard. As far as Ken Watson is concerned, that's a guard.
So we have the final rock coming in sheet 2. Quebec and Saskatchewan tied. Saskatchewan has last rock. And Saskatchewan needs to remove 1 rock, which is mostly wide open to win this game. Rick Bachand's throwing this one down.
Ooh,
interesting.
Close.
Almost a double, but left another center out there.
I think Rick, his body language as he got out of his slide, I think he thought he had it.
Yeah.
And I did too.
It's very close. And the Rider fans go wild.
Those Rider fans.
They're noisy wherever they go.
And that would be the Saskatchewan Riders, I'm
That would
guessing.
be Saskatchewan Riders. That's the only ones these days. So that puts Saskatchewan men at 8-1, which will guarantee them a playoff spot. BC put another guard up. Asking Skip Bruce Delaney's asking Rick Bachand to peel it off again.
And there's the peel.
This is Ken Watson's first shot, and he will put another guard up.
And I think he already knows that he's going to be drawing on his second shot. He's got that shot all ready to go, but he's going to force Team Ontario to play a peel.
So he'll have an opportunity to play the draw in his last shot or tap.
That final rock's coming down here on sheet number 3, in game between Newfoundland Labrador and Prince Edward Island. Skip Bill Hope drawing into the 4-foot. A little heavy.
A little heavy. So the guard's coming in our sheet, coming into play. Long guard. Leaves the rock a little bit open. And they've called a timeout on
And the only thing they can be debating as to whether to get into the 4-foot before Team BC does, as opposed to peeling off the guard. Case can be made. This is the 8th and possibly the final end of
possibly.
this game.
They're discussing what they're going to do. They peel off the top guard. They could hit the rock that's in rings, or they could draw around those guards and force them.
Certainly the draw is the most aggressive of the options. And you got to wonder if it's worth it, because if you miss it, it could result in a steal by Team BC, and then it would force an extra end. And of course, that is the advantage of being, up in this situation, up one with last rock. You've got that wiggle room.
Yeah. So they're going to peel.
I kind of thought that's what the final decision would be.
Yeah.
It is the safer shot. Somebody just took my name in vain again. Well, there's the peel. Now, will it be the draw or the tap? Which is easier?
Looks like the tap, based on the ice he's using. Now we have Blast Rock coming on sheet 3. Prince Edward Island is looking at a couple of rocks. They need to score one, steal one actually.
What is Rick doing? Well, he's not narrow.
Nope.
Well, there's the top. Would like it a little bit closer to the 4 foot, of course.
It's a teaser.
It is a teaser.
No, you don't want to do that. Turn it back.
Well, the shot rock is, the path to the shot rock is open. That's
Yeah.
the shot that Skip Delaney is going to attempt. That groan that you just heard was by the people who live in Newfoundland, Labrador. In Gary Oak, in an attempt to removal of the shot PI rock wrecked on the guard. So not only does PI have hope, they also have the win.
That's right. That puts PEI at a 6-3 position. And this looks like a very good shot. Nice shot, Bruce Delaney. Score one in the final end. And that ends our games. With one draw left tomorrow morning in the championship round. Northern Ontario is 7-2. Saskatchewan is at 8-1. Alberta is at 7-2. PEI is at 6-3. Ontario is at 5-4. Newfoundland Labrador is at 4-5. And BC is at 4-5. And Quebec is at 4-5. So Ontario is still alive. They need to win again tomorrow. But at this point in time, Quebec, BC, and Newfoundland Labrador have been eliminated. So thanks for listening to us, folks. We will be back here at 9 a.m. Saturday morning for the final draw in the championship round to declare the people that will be playing in the semifinals in the afternoon. So from Bill Shearhart, Jerry Sundwell, have a good night.